Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt less, like everyone else looks better, speaks better, or simply belongs more than you do? Maybe compliments make you uncomfortable, not because they are untrue, but because deep down you don't feel worthy of them. If you are constantly questioning your worth, comparing yourself to others, or believing that you are not enough, then this video is for you. In psychiatric practice, low self-esteem is rarely the sole complaint, but is often the invisible thread running through some mental illnesses. It weakens resilience, distorts self-perception, and impairs decision-making in critical areas of life. Hello, I'm Dr. Katia Batista, psychiatrist, and today I want to talk to you about something that is quietly present in the lives of many and yet often dismissed or misunderstood: low self-esteem. I'm not referring to those moments when we all feel unsure or a little shy in certain situations. That happens to everyone. I'm talking about a deeper, more chronic sense, a feeling of not being enough, of constantly comparing yourself to others, and coming up short. In psychiatry, we see this not just as a personality trait, but as a vulnerability factor. Low self-esteem doesn't just make you feel bad, it can lay the groundwork for serious mental health conditions: depression, anxiety disorders, personality disorder, sometimes even substance use disorder. Is not about the substance itself, it's about trying to escape the pain of not feeling worthy. And it shows up in other ways too, in body dysmorphic disorder, in eating disorders like anorexia nervosa or bulimia, in the compulsive search for approval, in perfectionism that exhausts the soul. And yes, today's world doesn't make it easier. We are constantly bombarded with image of how we should look, what we should achieve, how we should be living. The pressure is big to have the perfect body, the perfect face, the perfect life. And slowly, this becomes a quiet war inside many people, one they don't talk about but feel every single day. That's why I believe this conversation matters. Because behind many psychiatric conditions, there is often a wounded sense of self. And until we address that, we are only treating the surface. So, today's, let's go deeper. Let's talk about self-esteem not just as a single symptom, but as a real clinical human issue. And more importantly, what we can do about it. In psychiatry, self-esteem refers to the overall sense of worth or value a person assigns to themselves. It's not about arrogance or inflated confidence. It's about how realistically and stably someone evaluates who they are, their strength, their flaws, and their capacity to navigate life. This self assessment doesn't appear out of nowhere. It often begins to take shape in early life, in how caregivers responded to our needs, how consistent their support was, and whether we were encouraged to explore, express, and trust ourselves. And here's something we often overlook. If low self esteem begins in childhood, then our role as caregivers, teachers, and adults in a child's life carries more weight than we think. The words we choose, the space we give them to express themselves, how we react to their emotions, their achievements, and even more so, their failures. All of it sends message. Message that will quite shape how they see themselves. Sometimes it's not the trauma we imagine, it's the constant pressure to do better, the subtle dismissal of their efforts, the comparison to siblings or classmates, the silence when they needed support, or the harsh correction instead of the chance to learn from a mistake. We may believe we are pushing them to be their best, but what they might be hearing is what you are is not enough. And that message doesn't just stay in childhood. Unfortunately, it grows with them into adults who shrink in rooms where they should shine, who question their worth even when praised, who live trying to prove they are capable or simply enough. Then, what happens when that child grows up? Low self esteem doesn't simply fade with age, it adapts. It shows up in the workplace, in relationships, in silence when there should be self advocacy, and in overcompensation masked as perfectionism. Let me walk you through someone I once met in practice. Let me call her Anna. Anna was in her late 30s, intelligent, competent, warm, but in every team meeting, she would stay quiet. She deferred decisions to others, even when she had better solutions. In her relationships, she apologized constantly, even when she had not done anything wrong. She once told me, I just assume what I think is not important. People always have better ideas than me. Imagine. But that was not humility, it was a life time of believing her voice didn't carry weight. Now let's talk about Julia. She's also in her 30s in a long term relationship, and from the outside, everything seems fine. But here's the truth: Julia is in a relationship where she's not respected, not emotionally, not intellectually, not even in day to day decisions. When important choices are made, what plans they have, how the money is spent, no one asks Julia. And when she shares her thoughts, her ideas, they are brushed off, laughed at, or ignored. Sometimes her partner makes subtle jokes about her appearance, her weight, her clothes, and she smiles pretending doesn't sting. But she knows she's unhappy. She knows she's not being treated right. But still, she stays. Why? Because deep down she believes this is the best she can do. Because some part of her feels lucky that anyone chose her. Because when you don't feel worthy, even being tolerated can look like love. Julia is not blind. She's just convinced that living would mean ending up alone, and worse, that alone is what she deserves. That's not just sadness, that's the damage of low self-esteem in relationships where your own voice feels too small to matter, and your worth is measured only by someone else's acceptance. The truth is, many of these patterns begin early in environments where your thoughts were not taken seriously, where your opinions were overlooked, or where your efforts were never quite enough. But healing doesn't mean changing your past. It means learning to show up differently today, even when it's hard. Self esteem is not just about how you feel, it's about how you live. It's having the courage to speak, even when you are unsure, to express your thoughts at work, to set boundaries in relationships, to try even when failure feels possible. You don't need to be fearless. You need to act despite the fear, because real growth happens when we begin to trust to our ideas, our efforts, our present have value. That's why our clinical work must go beyond symptom control. In psychotherapy, especially cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, we help the patient identify and challenge distorted core belief like I am not good enough, or I will never succeed. These beliefs are often internalized from early experiences and reinforced over time. The goal is to build a more balanced, realistic, and compassionate view of the self. Other approaches, such as schema therapy, help address deeper emotional patterns formed in childhood. Psychodynamic therapy explores how past relationships and unconscious conflicts shape current self worth. As psychiatrists, we may introduce pharmacological treatment when comorbid conditions like major depressive disorder, social anxiety, or even PTSD are present, not to treat low self esteem directly, but to stabilize mood and reduce the emotional distress that the patient can present. It's important to also highlight the role of clinical psychologists who are often the ones accompanying patients in long-term work around identity, self-worth, and behavioral change. This is a collaborative effort, psychiatry and psychology working together to support lasting transformation. Treatment is not about inflating self confidence artificially. It's about restoring internal coherence, helping individuals reconnect with their value, their voice, and their ability to live with purpose and emotional autonomy. So, what can you do to start rebuilding your self esteem? If you are someone who constantly doubts your worth, minimize your achievement, or quietly accept less than you deserve, I want to tell you it can change. Not overnight, but it can. Here are some evidence based steps to start that change. The first thing, pay attention to how you speak to yourself. Would you say the same words to a friend or to a family member or someone you love? Start shifting from self criticism to self compassion, even if it feels unnatural at first. The second thing, challenge your limiting belief. That voice telling you you are not capable, not smart enough, not attractive enough. It's not true. It's not true. Question it, test it, rebuild your narrative. Set small goals that you can achieve. Every time you follow through on a goal, no matter how small, you send yourself a message. I can trust me. Consistency over perfection. Surround yourself with people who respect you. Self esteem grows in environments where you feel safe, heard, and valued. If that's not your current circle, it's okay to expand in it. Seek professional help. This is important. Therapy is not just for crisis, it's for healing, for relearning how to see yourself with clarity and care. A mental health professional can walk with you through this process. Your worth is not earned, it's inherent. You don't have to become someone else to deserve more. You only have to believe that you, as you are already enough and start walking in that truth. Self-esteem doesn't start with being confident. It begins with acceptance. Acceptance of the reality that you are human, imperfect, evolving, learning. You are not expected to have all the answers, to always get it right, or to meet everyone's expectations. You don't have to fit someone else's version of who you should be. Your path is your own, and your value is not measured by how flawlessly you walk it, but by the courage it takes to keep moving forward. Sometimes you will make mistakes, you will feel unsure, but that does not mean you have failed. It means you are growing. Start by honoring your reality, your strength, your limitations, your dreams. Stop comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. Trust your pace, trust your process. Before I end this video, let me share something personal. When I first started this YouTube channel, I recorded my videos in Spanish. It's my mother tongue. Is where I feel most fluent, of course, most at ease. But over time, people around me in the country where I now live, where English is the official language, people started asking, why is not your content in English? We would love to follow too. I hesitated. My English is not perfect. My accent is strong. I was afraid people might not understand me or that I wouldn't sound professional enough. But I did it anyway. If this video spoke to you, if it made you pause, reflect, or feel seen, I invite you to continue this journey with me. Subscribe to this channel, share this video with someone who might need it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And remember, mental health is not a luxury, it's a need, and you deserve to take care of yours. Thank you for being here. See you in the next video.